Right now, you've probably got a phone in your pocket or sitting on the desk next to you. And at some point this week, you're going to send a message, and someone is going to leave you on read. Or maybe you'll scroll through social media on a Friday night and see all your friends at a dinner that you weren't invited to. You will feel it almost instantly, a heavy, sinking sensation right in the middle of your chest. A literal, physical ache. You might think that feeling is just a modern side effect of living in a hyper-connected, digital world. You might think you're just being overly sensitive. You aren't. That dropping sensation in your stomach is one of the oldest biological alarms in human history. It's older than the internet. It's older than written language. It's older than farming, cities, and the invention of wearing clothes. The question is, why did evolution wire our brains to make being left out physically hurt? Let's start with what actually happens inside your head when you get excluded. In 2003, a neuroscientist at UCLA named Naomi Eisenberger ran a surprisingly cruel but brilliant experiment. She put people in an fMRI scanner to map their brain activity in real time. Then, she had them play a very simple video game called Cyberball. It was just the human subject and two digital avatars tossing a virtual ball back and forth on a screen. The participants were told the other avatars were controlled by real people in another room. For a while, everyone was passing the ball. But after a few minutes, the avatars stopped throwing it to the human. They threw it only to each other. They deliberately left the human out. It was a completely meaningless game against a computer program. But the brain scanners showed something terrifying. The moment the participants realized they were being excluded, a specific region of their brain called the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex lit up like a Christmas tree. Why does that matter? Because that is the exact same part of the brain that activates when you break your leg, or when you burn your hand on a hot stove. Your brain literally does not know the difference between a broken bone and a broken heart. To your nervous system, social rejection isn't just a sad emotion or a bad mood. It is a physical injury, which seems like a massive, terrible design flaw, right? Why would nature do that to us? Why make a missed party feel like a punch in the throat? Because a few million years ago, a broken leg could kill you. But being left out of the group, that was a guaranteed death sentence. To understand why, we have to rewind about 3 million years, back to the African Savanna, to the era of our distant ancestors, like Australopithecus. Think about human beings for a second. Biologically speaking, we are completely ridiculous animals. We don't have thick fur to protect us from the freezing cold. We don't have venom. We don't have sharp fangs. We don't have claws. We aren't even particularly fast. Drop a single, isolated human in the middle of a prehistoric savanna surrounded by giant hyenas, dire wolves, and saber-toothed cats, and that human is nothing but a slow, fleshy snack. We were not the apex predators. We were the prey. So, early humans developed the ultimate defense mechanism, the tribe. If you were wandering the tall grass alone, you were food. If there were 50 of you holding heavy sticks, watching each other's backs, you were a heavily armed militia. Survival meant staying inside the group at all costs. But how does evolution make sure a stubborn, distracted ape doesn't just wander off into the grass to look at a cool rock and get eaten? It installs an alarm system. Think about how hunger works. Hunger is just your body's painful way of screaming, "Find food or you will die." Thirst is your body saying, "Find water or you will die." Loneliness is the exact same thing. The late neuroscientist John Cacioppo spent his entire career proving this. He showed that loneliness isn't a flaw in your personality. It's a biological drive. It is your brain sounding a painful, frantic alarm, screaming at you, "Find your tribe, or you will die." When you feel lonely, your body actually goes into a state of hypervigilance. Your brain floods your system with cortisol, the stress hormone. Your blood pressure goes up. You sleep lighter, waking up at tiny noises, because your primitive brain thinks you are sleeping alone in a dark forest with no one to keep watch. Your body physically prepares to be attacked, because for 99% of human history, isolation meant a predator was coming. But here's where the story takes a massive turn. About 1 million years ago, our ancestor Homo erectus figured out how to control fire. Fire changed everything. It cooked our meat, which shrank our digestive tracts and gave us the extra calories to grow massive, genius-level brains. But more importantly, it changed the night. Before fire, when the sun went down, early humans climbed into trees and hid in terrifying, pitch-black silence, hoping a leopard wouldn't drag them into the dark. After fire, the night became a social event. The tribe gathered around the glowing hearth. They shared food. They looked at each other's faces. They started building complex social hierarchies. If you were part of the inner circle, you got warmth, safety, and a piece of roasted mammoth. But what if you annoyed the group? What if you stole someone's food, or fell asleep on guard duty, or proved you couldn't be trusted? They would push you away from the fire. And away from the fire meant the cold, and the dark, and the things with teeth. Evolution had to make sure you never did anything stupid enough to get yourself kicked away from that warmth. It had to make the fear of social rejection so powerful, so agonizing, that you would desperately conform to the group's rules. You would share your food. You would help raise other people's kids. You would play nice. Here's what makes this so important. That crippling fear of being left out isn't just a quirky survival mechanism. It is the invisible glue that built the entire modern world. Think about it. Why do we follow laws when no one is looking? Why do we care so much about our reputation? Why do we help strangers, or feel a deep, burning guilt when we lie to our friends? Because if our ancestors didn't care what the group thought of them, the group would leave them to die. The physical pain of loneliness forced early humans to cooperate. And because we were forced to cooperate, we learned to communicate. We invented complex language to gossip and keep track of who was a good tribe member and who was a selfish jerk. We started trading tools. We built farming villages, then massive cities, then global empires. We cured diseases. We put human beings on the moon. None of that happens if early humans were perfectly happy being alone. The pure agony of loneliness forced us to become the most hypersocial, fiercely cooperative species on the planet. But here is the problem. Our brains were forged in small, tight-knit bands of hunter-gatherers. The famous anthropologist Robin Dunbar found that the human brain can really only maintain stable social relationships with about 150 people. That's the magic number. That's your tribe. For millions of years, you knew everyone in your 150-person group, and they knew you. You had a specific place. You had a role. If you were sick, people noticed. If you were gone, you were missed. The tribe was an extension of your own body. Now, look at the world we live in today. We live in massive concrete cities filled with millions of people. We walk past thousands of strangers every single day, completely surrounded by human beings, yet completely invisible to them. We are packed into crowded subways, towering office buildings, and dense apartment complexes, living inches away from people whose names we don't even know. And then there's the internet. You can have 5,000 friends on a screen. You can have 100,000 followers looking at your pictures. And you can still have 0 people to call when your car breaks down in the rain at 2 in the morning. We have accidentally built a world that provides us with an endless, exhausting stream of shallow interactions, but starves us of the deep, life or death tribal connection our ancient brains are frantically looking for. When you feel lonely in a crowded city, your brain is sitting in that crowded room, pulling the prehistoric fire alarm, screaming that you are isolated on the Savanna and a lion is coming. It is a 3 million-year-old survival system short-circuiting in a modern world, which is a bit of a bummer. Yeah, I know. It's heavy. I'd rather think about the fire and the mammoth meat, too. But there is a beautiful flip side to all of this. So here's the full picture. For millions of years, being alone meant being dead. To keep you alive, evolution wired your brain to treat social rejection exactly like a physical wound. That intense pain forced weak, furless humans to huddle around fires, share their food, and build the largest, most complex societies in the history of the Earth. And today, that exact same ancient alarm system is still ringing in your chest, trying to protect you in a digital world that doesn't make sense to it anymore. So the next time someone leaves you on read, or you see a photo of a party you weren't invited to, or you just find yourself sitting alone on a Friday night, and you feel that sudden, heavy ache pulling at your chest, don't beat yourself up for being sensitive. That feeling isn't a weakness. That is millions of years of evolutionary engineering, functioning exactly the way it's supposed to. It is your ancient ancestors, reaching across time, desperately trying to keep you alive. If you want to keep exploring the weird wiring of the human brain, there are plenty more videos on the channel waiting for you. I'll see you in the next one.